This is John McAllister, and welcome to the Setting Trick Podcast. Today, my guest is professional bridge player Steve Weinstein. One of my favorite parts about our conversation is when Steve talks about how much he loves and appreciates bridge. And I really feel a kinship with those thoughts and words. And I'm grateful to, as we talk about at the beginning of the show, Steve, we had talked about him being on the show a little bit before and hadn't quite, he wanted to give it a little time. And so it was an honor when in San Francisco, Steve, I think I'm remembering this right. Steve was like, "Hey, I'm ready to be on the podcast." So I won't delay his appearance any longer.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Well, I'm excited too. This is like you've been working on this for a while, and
I'm in the big leagues now.
You've been in the big leagues, man. I feel honored. I feel honored to be a subject of the great Setting Trick podcast.
Well, thank you for doing it. I know we joked about it a while ago, and now here we are.
Yeah, it's true.
Are you and Bobby still? I remember when we were. I think when we were filming Double Dummy, you guys were training some of the juniors.
We actually. I've worked with some of the juniors informally, like usually when I'm at Keiska's house doing the training with her, and but he and I were going to train a pair, and it didn't work out. There was a pair on USA 1 at the time that we had agreed to train, and some things happened that made it not work out.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. These things happen.
So like I was so inspired in part by your like I did a fair amount of research last night. Yeah. So and one of the, like I have like there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of good articles, like interviews with you online, and I have a ton of questions from all that stuff.
Well, I usually do not like doing interviews, so this is like I'm surprised there's a ton. I'm glad that you. But ever since I was young, I did an interview when I was like 17 with the local newspaper, and they just butchered it, and it really set me off on a bad interview feeling. I'm like, they just take whatever headline they want and change the story to whatever they want. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a podcast and this is, or I trust you, most people I would trust to do interviews and stuff like that. But my experience with people that do interviews hasn't been great in my life.
So was that when you were interviewed when you were 17? Is that when you won was it the Life Master Pairs?
Yeah, that was it was a local upstate New York newspaper that did an interview right after that. It was like when Bridge actually got some publicity.
Do you remember how they butchered the interview?
I don't really remember, but I remember they took certain parts and cut out certain parts, and it made it seem as if I was like really negative on certain things and that I wasn't. And like if the words were, look, they're a newspaper, they're going to cut it and they're going to do whatever they want to do with it. But it just shows you, and it showed me at a young age, that how easy it is to take things out of context. And I really think you see that now with like the aggregators that do that with athletes, etc. You just see some headline that they're taking from some long sentence or paragraph that the headline doesn't. I mean, I did an interview with somebody, a European person, who was doing like videos at the World Championship, and we did this whole interview, and the headline was "Steve Weinstein hates match points," and I'm like, well, that's not exactly what I said. I was like saying how I like imps better, and it's it's like I'm much more, I care much more about winning big team games than I do about match point events. But it's just like what the way they decide to frame it concerns me.
Mm.
So
Who did you win? You were the youngest ever to win a NABC. What was the distinction exactly?
No, I think it was the Life Master Pair. I mean, it was a 3-day event, but I don't know if the record's been broken or not. I mean, I'm sure it will be broken. There's so many great young juniors now, but it was the Life Master Pairs, 3-day Life Master Pairs.
And you were the youngest to ever win that.
Yeah, with Fred Stewart, who played great, by the way. Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, Finn Kolesnik told me that.
Finn's definitely going to break it.
You predicted that he would break.
Yeah,
he would break your record.
I hope he does. He seems like such a great kid. Well, how old is Finn? Like 15?
I think he's 15.
Yeah, he's going to break it for sure.
Yeah. There's a cute story in one of the interviews where it talks about you met Gavin when he was 15.
Yeah. Oh, the Blue Ribbon Paris thing. Yeah.
And Zia paid for their entry.
It was so final. Great. Yeah, I mean those guys. It was like they were so small. I was like,
right?
How do they even like hold it? Now you see these 8-year-old kids and stuff, and like they were just like old timers compared to how the youth, especially in Palo Alto area, that Debbie Rosenberg's been working with, and a group. I mean, not just Debbie, but their whole group has been amazing. I mean, I've seen it when I played in a local sectional there. There's just so many smiling young faces. It really is a joy to watch. Including Michael too, I should say. Although he shot up, he was much shorter then.
I just was teaching somebody and his son bridge today, and he was like 9 years old, and I felt like this was like what Joe Grew could have been like when he was 9 years old.
Yeah, the personality and stuff.
He was just primed. He was just like he understood. Like it was so cool. Like I could teach. Like anyway, enough about me.
No, it's true. It's picturing a young Joe Grew. There's nothing that's a cool thing to do. It's a fun image.
I mean, this kid he was just so like fluent in cards. Mm-hmm. He'd played like a couple. His grandparents play. His dad like he's just starting, but. Wow, I was like, man, you just remind me. I just am reminded of Joe Grew.
Yeah.
So that's a big burden of comparison.
That's the next LeBron James, the next Michael Jordan, the next Joe Grew.
So, okay, let's see. There was this thing in one of the interviews that talked about Bob Hampton, a student of yours that you enjoyed playing with. Mm-hmm. You said that if you wouldn't work on his game, you didn't want to continue playing with him.
That sounds like something I would say. Yeah. And he did continue to work on his game, and he actually got a lot better, but he stepped away from bridge after he got divorced. And actually I haven't seen him in quite a while, but he was quite the student.
Yeah.
And right now I have only one student, and she worked, Gay Skajol, who just works so hard, and it amazes me the effort that she's willing to put in, and we're friends also, but she's the one person that I'm willing to have as a student because it's a lot of effort, and if the person isn't working hard and they're not willing to continue to try to improve, I have a lot of other things in my life I could do. So I really feel like, to me, it's I'm in a position, fortunately, where I don't have to do that. So, I'll only do it if I think it's a good thing. And she's definitely worth it.
Can you give me an example of how she works hard?
She studies she works on systems. She reads her notes all the time. She's always looking for problems. She's, trying to count out every bridge hand. Like when we work on, like, we call it boot camp and stuff, she wants to be drilled on what was the distributions of everybody's hands, and, recount all the she's just constantly, we'll play a regional first usually, which, for 4 or 5 days, and then we'll work on it. And, her energy for it, and the fact that she doesn't wear down, and she just stays so focused for so long and aims to improve, her dedication is amazing. She wears me down.
Is she improving?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, she's going to continue to improve as long as she wants to continue to improve. Yeah.
Like how can you tell that she's gotten better? Like, can you give me?
Well, I play with her at least once a year in a regional, sometimes twice a year. So I see how she plays for 5 straight days, and then I also see what we're going over and what we're discussing and our conversations and how we think about bridge hands. And
Right.
she'll give me a hand, she'll say what she was thinking and or what I think the right bid is, and just the level of discourse and discussion and the way she thinks about the hands just shows immense improvement.
I was surprised to learn that you only started playing poker in 2003.
Yeah. Was it 2003? Yeah, maybe 2002. It was after 9/11. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that totally took me by surprise because I just, you just like the story was that there was this guy, Bob Ciafone.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but
yeah, it's close enough.
But like that you wanted to have a coach, and like it wasn't even so much his coaching, it's just like you knew the accountability that he provided. And it made me like started looking up, Googling bridge coaches last night after.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, it was exactly that, because I started playing and I was not losing. But I was like, found myself like, I wasn't playing stakes that high, and I wasn't playing to a high level because I didn't care that much. And, I was like, if I want to get serious about this game, I need to get some help, and I need to care about the game and have it not just be either I'm going to just be a social player or I'm going to get good at the game. And, I looked up coaches, and it turned out he was a bridge player. I had no idea at the time, because when I contacted him, I emailed, I found out his email and I contacted him, I called him, I forgot. And I said, you don't know me, blah, but I'm like pretty serious at this one game and I'm trying to take up this game. And he's like, well, I play bridge. I do know you. And, it was, and me sending him the hands, and, his responses were great and stuff. And it made me think about it. But really it was the accountability. It was just like, all right, you're no longer screwing around. You're going to take this seriously. And that really helped jumpstart me.
I mean, that is a great story. Like, because you saw that you were not really playing to your potential.
Yeah.
Oh God. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it also, to continue with the Bob story, it was like, I think it was the Reno Nationals in, I want to guess like 2003 or something. I'm not really sure what year it was. And I was playing a cash game there, and before the Nationals, and some guy sits down on my right, some person I don't know, an older gentleman, just looks like a regular and stuff like that. And at some point he goes, are you Steve Weinstein? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you don't know who I am, but you know who I am. I'm like, and he goes, I'm Bob Ciafone. I'm like, oh shit. I'm thinking, glad he's on my right instead of on my left.
Oh man, I remember being at the poker. I didn't actually play poker in Reno, but like the last time the Nationals were there, it was like all these bridge players. I mean, it was I just was kibitzing.
Yeah. I now, when I go to the Nationals, I mean, when I was learning poker, I mean, you're always learning, but at the time it was different. But now I never play poker when I go to the Nationals. Like poker time and bridge time are very different for me. I think they take a separate focus, and, poker is like, if I'm playing, it's usually reasonably high stakes for really long hours. And, when I go to a Nationals, I'm taking it very seriously, and that's my focus. And if I'm playing poker, that's my focus. And I don't think the two mix well for me. I think the games actually complement each other, and each made me better at the other game, but I don't think that you should be doing them the same time. I think that you're either focused on poker for that week or you're focused on bridge for that week, let's say.
And so like, what's a Nationals like for you? Like, you and Bobby you do prep work. You told me that you were prepping for Columbus. Mm-hmm. Like, what can you give me, just share with me what the prep work looks like, just for starters?
Well, the biggest thing is we have to fix our note. We have so many handwritten things in our notes that need changes and need fixes. And we try not to make like a lot of changes unless it's really important. If we're playing something that's like a 4 on a 1 to 10, instead it could be a 6. If it's not consistent with other things, we try not to change it, because it's too hard on memory. But we'll review all the changes, then we'll work with Adam Parrish to make the changes in the notes. But the biggest thing we do is bid hands, and some people like to play online to practice, and I don't think that helps us that much. I think that what helps us is we just sit there on BBO and we bid hands, and we're on GChat or whatever, or on the phone at the same time. And like one hand can become like 10 hands. Well, what would you do if you had the jack of spades? What would you do if you had this? What would it take you to open 3 diamonds? What card is, and we'll go over ranges really is what we'll do, and try to make it so that even if we don't bid exactly the same, we'll each know what the other person would bid with any given hand. And I think that's the best practice for us.
And so were you doing that this past week?
No, we're going to actually start next week, probably tomorrow, actually. I had a really busy week, and we both have a very light regional schedule this year. And so we have a couple weeks before anything. And then I think I'm only playing one regional between now and the Nationals. And I think he's only playing one regional. So we got to start a little bit late this year.
So you'll go online at some appointed hour tomorrow, and how long?
Well, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
Oh, sorry.
Monday.
How long will you spend? How long would you spend typically?
Usually we try to do about 2 hours at a time. Like if we found that like less, I mean, we might do a little bit less, but once you get past 2 hours, you both start losing a little bit of focus on it, or caring or wanting to do something else, but if you go almost every day, a couple hours a day. And like I said, each hand could be like 5 or, we're going to skip the ones that are 1 note, 3 notes. There's really nothing to do. And, you have to have a pretty quick skip finger, but, a lot of times there's a lot to discuss, and it really has helped us thickening our understandings.
And do you put parameters in BBO for like minimum high card points between you?
Unless we're specifically practicing, like we took on a new Jacoby a while ago, that I'm just going to put 23 plus points for us, and then I'm going to have the robots bid the other hands, and those robots are some crazy crackers, man. They do some wacky things, but
that's what Bobby calls you, man.
Yeah, that's true. He did call me. He did start with that.
And so like you said that Adam Parrish helps you with your notes. I know at one point Michael Rosenberg was writing notes for you. Like what is he actually doing like in practice?
Well, he writes the English language far better than Bobby or myself. So he can take what we're trying to say and make it very readable. And, our notes are difficult to read. Like if someone just tried to read our notes, it'd be very difficult, but he knows what we're trying to, we do it with him, we go over with him, and then he actually can concisely say what we want to put in there. And we don't like put in every auction stuff. We put in a lot of general rules and general concepts and some auction examples and stuff like that. But he just can interpret like Bobby and Steve language into language that is readable.
You're saying when you said a person, you mean like a bridge player. It wouldn't be easy for a bridge player to read.
No, I think it would be very difficult because we take a lot of shortcuts and we leave out a lot of things that are just not necessary for us. And, we have some convention names that would mean nothing to any, that we just have private names for, that private inside jokes and stuff like that. Right. So it'd be very difficult for most people to pick up a copy of our notes, read it, and understand exactly what we're trying to say in most circumstances.
Yeah, I noticed that in a bridge. There was like your one of a minor, one of a major. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Or two of a major. Now what? Anyway, it was a Bridge Winners article, and there was like you gave your whole spiral structure, and I was like, I didn't understand
the way it was written.
I did. I mean, there was parts of it like, and later in one of the comments, I think you said like 3 hearts, 4 hearts. There was something about like 3, 3, 6, 1 or something. Anyway, it was a great article.
Thank you.
Great article.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I believe in raising with three more than most people. We have, I think the precision pairs, which makes some kind of sense, is they don't raise with three and they always bid the 4-card major, even if they're balanced. But when they open one diamond, it means nothing. So it's kind of important for them to get in at least one natural suit, where when we open a diamond, it means a little bit more, not like the people that play a diamond's unbalanced, or even if we open a club, it means a little bit more. So we're much more likely to raise with three than other people. And we're also much like, I feel like I'm one of the least likely people to bid a spade over heart than anybody, because I love when they keep firing those spades at me and I'm waiting like 9 and my 10, my queen. It's like, all right, keep them coming. This suit's working for me. So we were pretty quick to raise with three. And I also think that playing the 4-3 fit and defending the 4-3 fit are both very difficult. And, I've noticed defenders it's very difficult to defend a 4-3 fit. It's like they'll lead trumps and they'll switch to this and then you'll switch to this. And it's sort of like a little ping pong, and, you just hope to win the point at the end.
Like you're saying they don't know if you have 4 cards or 5 in the suit, or
right. And they'll often like start one way and then switch and it'll be too late, or start a different way. It's just, I think one of the most difficult things to do is to defend a fit that may be 4-3 or is 4-3, especially at a low level. I mean, if you're defending a slam, it's certainly a lot easier. Game is a little bit easier, but if it's a part square hand, it's really challenging to defend those hands.
Huh. What percentage of the time do you think you play in a 4-3 major suit fit?
I mean, not really that much, because we don't really, like, we raise, our basic rule is that if we have 10 and 1 in a side suit, we usually bid 1 no. It's a little bit different when partner bids a spade over a minor, because we don't have 4 hearts unless we have a game forcing hand, because we play reverse Flannery over a minor. So I don't know what percentage it's low, but higher than most, certainly higher than all the precision players or the Europeans and stuff like that.
Oh, you play reverse Flannery. So if you have a game force, you would have been, I see.
Yeah.
Your reverse Flannery is like what? What's your range for?
Well, we have a weak range and an invitational range. And then over a club, we have an extra range to show 6 spades and 4 hearts in invitational. So we use all the bids.
Yeah, one of my questions originally was going to be like just about kind of like how good you are at bridge, like asking you to answer that. And like immediately when I like when I was looking at the notes, or when I was looking at reading the article, one of a minor, one of a major, now what?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I saw just in that, like encapsulated just in what your spirals are. I was like, wow, like these guys are so much more detailed than I am.
Well, thank you. But I mean, it makes sense. We're we've been at it a lot longer. We've been partners for a long time, and we put in a lot of time and energy into it. So even if I wasn't that good, then just the amount of effort would show some good detail. Yeah,
like the question was going to be like, what makes you and Bobby good?
Mm-hmm. So you're going to ask the question now?
Yeah. So now I'm asking.
Was it like a tease? I'm not going to ask you this question, and now I'm going to ask this question.
See, I'm not Oprah. This is on the fly. I have my little list.
I think this was a little trick. I don't know. Well, it really helps that my partner is, without a doubt, unquestionably one of the best players in the world. So you start out with that, and we play hard and we practice hard, and we try to really, like, if you're going to define us as a pair, I would say our biggest strength is we consistently hit the ball hard to the opponent's backhand, and we don't really make a lot of unforced errors. Everybody makes a lot of errors, but comparatively, we don't make a ton of unforced errors. Man, I would say that is what our biggest strength would be the lack of it being a huge weakness.
Like, how often does Bobby do something where you're like, man, that was really cool?
Definitely reasonably often. Like he does plays or like he makes bids and stuff, and I'm like, thinking about it, and like normally when we screw up, we almost never go over it right away, and both of us are pretty good at reflecting on what went wrong and working out, like, if I misplay a hand or Bobby misplays a hand, we don't really need to say anything. Each of us will work out what we did wrong, and but if there's some defensive carding situation, we'll go over it. But he for many years amazed me with some of the greatness that he's shown.
Like if he misplays a hand, for example, will you go into the hand in your mind and like see why, like the reason, like, and come up with your own reason for why he would have done that, or do you even bother with that?
I certainly don't do it at the time. When I'm thinking about the hands later, I'll sometimes do it or sometimes won't. But I try to relax a lot as dummy. It's not like I'm worried about how Bobby Levin plays a bridge hand. So, there's certainly times that I've reviewed hands and stuff like that, and I'll try to think about what he was thinking at the time, or why he did what he did, and oftentimes there's some great reason that I didn't really notice at the table. But like I said, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about his hands. I think about my hands and the hands that we misdefended or we misbid, and those are the ones that I'm most concerned about.
So how much formality is there to like your preparation at the actual tournament, like at the actual NABCs or World Championships? How do you approach like a day of play?
Well, we like to start and we like to play the first quarter, sit out the second quarter. I usually try to wake up 2-3 hours before we play, have some coffee. I don't usually eat breakfast. And the great thing is, one of my favorite things about playing the first quarter, the third and the fourth is, it doesn't really matter how little sleep you got or how tired you are or if you're sick. All you have to do is wake up, and it used to be 16 boards, but now you just have to wake up, play 15 boards as hard as you can, and then you're going to have a break. You're going to get to eat some lunch. You're going to get to take a nap if you want. You're going to, you have, let's say it starts at 12, or usually, with screens it starts at 12 usually. So let's say your break is at like a 2:30. You're not playing again until 7. So all that first quarter, it's so psychologically easy to know that you can just play your hardest and your focus as much as, and not really sweat it, because all you have to do is play 15 hands. So I break it down to 15 hands and then long break and then 30 hands is the way I think about it. So I wouldn't say it's preparation. It's just a psychology for me.
Do you do anything though? Like I've tried to do some like warm-ups, like where I look at hands and I'll think like I'll practice bidding on bridge winners or bridge base, or like play some practice hands. Like, what do you do to get your like bridge playing mind in focus to like play the first board as good as you can?
I turn the shower on really, really cold right before I get out of it. Try to like make sure I'm awake. But the one thing I say to myself, and my wife Liz says this to me too, because it used to be like, and I still use it, is like, just watch the spots. If you watch the spots, trust your partner, you're going to be in good shape. Because the one thing that bites you in the ass really is if you end up not watching the spots, and it comes back and haunts you, and it's like, did they leave the 6 or the 5 or the 7? And those spots tell such a huge story of the hand that I feel like if there's one thing that you can take a picture of in your head is the spots, it allows you to play so much better.
When did you last miss a spot?
I don't know. I know I did in one of the Bridge Winners Challenge matches when I was playing with Gavin, and they were all laughing at me so much. They were like, "Yeah, Steve missed a spot." They were having a good time with me, and it was pretty funny. And I'm sure I miss a spot every tournament. It doesn't stick out like in my head right now, like, oh, I missed this spot right now, but I'm sure it happens all the time. but there's no
because the Bridge Winners
example.
Challenge match, those were a long time ago, I think.
Yeah, well, when we first early in the Bridge Winners thing is when we did the fantasy contest. The winners of the fantasy contest got to play a match against the Bridge Winners teams, and it was kind of fun. But it was hard to schedule, and it was just like it was a good promotional thing at the time, and we all like turned, everybody. Gavin's got a bunch of kids. Jason, everybody's got kids. I don't have kids, but the scheduling with the regionals and stuff became so difficult for us to put together our team, and where we all wanted to do it, and so we just stopped doing it.
Yeah, that's another like minor complaint I have is like that that you used to be writing all these great Bridge Winners articles, and we're deprived of your writing talents on Bridge Winners largely these days.
Thank you, but I would say between Adam and Eugene, they could make me look like a much better writer than I am. As I call it, the magic of Eugene's editing and Adam Parrish has certainly helped me a lot. And Liz is a great writer. So, I remember there was like times when I was like writing out to some articles and like I'd be pounding away at the keyboard and like Liz would say, "Are you like pissed off about something?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Can I see what you're writing before you hit that publish button?" I'm like, maybe, And so I've had some really good editors in my life.
Like what like have you considered writing any articles recently?
I've considered it, but I've been really busy. I have a lot of things going on in my life, and I'd like to write more. I actually enjoy the writing, and I think that I have some more stuff to say, and maybe after basketball season would be a time that I might consider doing a little bit more. But I really enjoy basketball and basketball season, so I wouldn't expect me to write any articles between now and then.
NBA basketball,
yeah. Although I did like that college game I went. The UVA game was pretty exciting. That was fun. We had a fun week.
I want to make.
I'll just say that John. I played on as partners with John, and our teammates were Kalita and Novoselsky, and we're at a local regional in Virginia. I don't remember where it was, Charlottesville, I guess.
Yeah.
And John said, "Well, if we lose this knockout match, we can go to the UVA game. I have season great tickets." And I'm like, why is he telling me this? It's like, oh my God, I really want to lose, but I don't want to play badly and stuff. And it turned out like we lost, and I don't know if I played badly or not. I don't remember, but we went to the UVA game and it was such a great experience. We had so much fun doing that. And then we ended up winning the next knockout. So it was okay. It was like, we lost that one and then we won the next one. And it was like, all right, this all worked out.
So this is a perfect lead in because I want to start making this a standard question. Like I don't have any standard questions, but I want to start making this a standard question. And now I'm thinking that I'm not sure it's such a good question, but
well, last time you did this to me, you asked it anyway.
All right. So the question is, are you better than Kalita?
Kalita is a great bridge player.
Don't you think that's do you think that's a good standard question or not?
You're not going to get people to answer it in general.
I know.
It's a fine question to see what people's reactions are, but I would say that's not for me to judge. That's for other people to judge.
I just think he's such a good humored guy. He's got like that kind of like Polish sense of humor.
He's great. Kalita is absolutely one of my favorite people. I'm sick of losing to him, and he's been doing a lot of winning, and deservedly so. He plays great and he's got a great team, and he's just a great person. He's one of my favorite people. Not only in the bridge world, just in the world. I'm a big Kalita fan.
Because I sort of asked Maxstroth it in my interview with him, but I asked him if if Kalita and Michael were better than when those two, and he said he had a similar answer.
They're a great pair.
Yeah.
And Michael is hilarious. He's like a little devil, he's got this little Diablo personality that you would have no idea if you didn't know him. He's really funny.
It's funny doing this interview with you, man, because I see I just have this, there's some ways that I thought I might want to go with questions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I'm just appreciating how you are you just seem really, I don't know how. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's going to make the final cut.
No, that was really insightful. I think that's crucial. I highly recommend that makes the final cut.
But what I'm saying is that I feel like I don't feel like I can I feel like you said you don't do like to do interviews. So I just can't. I feel like I can't bullshit like you. This this had and you're. It's not that you're impatient, but you don't have a lot of patience for I don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
That's actually that's a very good read by you. But I'd say a fault of mine actually is I don't have a lot of patience. I could use a little bit more patience. But you have not done anything to make me impatient. And your questions have been fun. You're Bob Costas. Come on.
I was surprised also to learn in my research that you like racket sports.
Well, I do, and I used to play them. I've stopped. I haven't really played them in a while, but I used to live with Larry Cohn when I first got out of college. Liz and I we moved in with Larry in New Jersey, and he's absolutely one of my closest friends still. And he and I used to go play racquetball and to a little bit of tennis, but mostly racquetball. And I swear between the two of us, we'd rather die than lose a point. We would just be like, all right, it's a good thing we're not doing it now when we're older because we would probably die. But at the time, it was just losing was just not acceptable, And the thing, when I reflect on that, I was so competitive in everything when I was younger. And I found as I've gotten older, I've channeled the things that I'm competitive in. And now I think if I played tennis or did things like that, or golf, which I don't play. I tried it a little bit. I would not be anywhere near as competitive in things that are just supposed to be fun. And I'm comfortable channeling the things that I'm competitive at into things that are really important to me to be good at and chill out on the other stuff. Where I was, 22, 23, 14, 10, I would just I have to win at this game, whatever it is, no matter what. And that I've certainly changed over the years. I think I've done a lot of channeling of my competitive spirit and how much, how hard I'm willing to, or how much I care, or how much it would bug me to lose to things that are really important to me. And bridge is very important to me.
It's so cool, man. I just I love that you can say that bridge is important to me. It's very important to me.
Yeah. Well, I feel very fortunate that, I found at such a young age, something that, in many of I've been involved in, quite a few endeavors and I feel so lucky that I've gotten to do things that I've loved and enjoyed and never had a job that, when I was really young, I've had some jobs, I was groundskeeper doing this, doing that, but, all the jobs I've ended up doing, I've really enjoyed doing. And, that is really as lucky as you can get.
What do you enjoy about bridge?
I think that I like the fact that it's so difficult and it's not repetitive, and the competition is so difficult and so tough, and the game is cleaned up so much, and you feel like you're playing on an even playing field, and just the winning is it used to be that losing was so painful and winning wasn't really that joyful, which is a really bad place to be. And I don't know when it happened in my life, but I got to a point where losing is still painful, but I really enjoy winning a major event now. And that's a big swing where if all you could do is lose and not win because you don't enjoy it, that's not so great. But if you really get the joy out of winning, now at least you're getting like, okay, I'm going to lose most bridge tournaments. That everybody's going to lose most bridge tournaments. But when I win, it feels so good. And I love that. And the partnership aspect, it's different than poker because poker is not partnership and bridge is partnership. So it's sort of, bridge becomes a game of like ego and tandem and you and your partner being on the same page and you're only as good as the two of you are together, where poker is such an individual game. So, I enjoy the poker also, but doing it with my partner, with my teammates, it's a great feeling.
Like when you were working with this guy, Bob Hampton, I'm sorry to go back to it because this is a long time ago, but did you feel like he wasn't improving and you needed to say that to him, or like, maybe you don't even remember it.
I think that he, in the beginning, did take it so seriously, and then he started taking it more seriously, and and he had a lot of natural talent, and he's great tennis player, golfer, whatever he did, he was good at. So it was just a matter of him taking it seriously. So I just thought it was important at that time that he took it seriously, and he did. And he went on to win like multiple national events. I think playing with Gavin and like I call them the kids, but they're not kids anymore. But John Hurd, and Joe Grew, or Joel Woodridge, and I don't remember what his Kraniak was on his team, I think. And they won some events before he stopped playing. But I think when I said it to him, he wasn't taking it that seriously, which is fine. You can play bridge without taking it seriously. You could absolutely enjoy the game at any level. I don't think that I or anyone else should tell somebody how they should play bridge, but I can say what it would take for me to be involved in their bridge game. That's my right. It's not my right, obligation, or even correct in any way to tell somebody what they should do in bridge or anything else in their life. But I certainly get a choice if I'm involved, whether I'm going to participate in it or not.
Yeah, because I used to have Bridge Base on my phone, for example, Bridge Baron, and I stopped playing it because I knew that I would do it mindlessly. I would just do it to this is before I really started playing a lot of tournaments and stuff, but I would do it mindlessly. And I still do that. I play chess mindlessly. I play on Bridge Base semi-mindlessly. I don't know, that's what I loved about this quote that you said about the poker. I'm like, how do I institute, if you were me, how would you start to say, you know what, I'm not going to mess around with bridge. I'm going to, how could I take that into my own, amateur bridge if you were me?
Well, first of all, I'd start out by saying, it's okay to do those things that you do and entertain yourself, whether it's playing poker or chess or bridge, and just say, hey, this is entertainment time. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if I were you and I was going to try to take my bridge game to another level, one of the things that I think I'd work on improving is thinking through the hand and not playing reflexively, because most hands I'm sure you're capable of solving if you just decide to put in the effort. And I think that sometimes now, look, I haven't played with you in a long time, and maybe things have changed drastically, but I don't think that you've given every hand as much effort when you could. And I think that would be something I'd work on if I were you.
Yeah. I'm thinking about a hand we played against Nickel, you guys, in the Soloway qualifier. Mm-hmm. And they had a precision 2-club. It went 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, something, 4 hearts. Mm-hmm. And I ended up crashing my partner's Jack of Hearts, and that was the setting trick. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you guys were playing or not. Somehow we only lost the match by 1, I think, or maybe we even won the match by 1 in spite of this.
We were playing. We had a bad game. Maxwell and Rodwell seemed like they had a really good game against you, actually, and your teammates did very well against me and Bobby.
But I see this like it's something that I see in terms of it's like I'm trying to get. It's like I'm in such a hurry all the time.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like you don't even smoke. What do you need 7 minutes on the clock for?
I know. It's like I'm trying to get so that I can. It's just oh God. Yeah. It's so funny. It's like I'm trying to get to so I can compare or something. God, it's just.
It's like that's pretty common on like the last hand of a match for people to. It's really crucial to focus like on the last hand of the quarter or the last hand of the match or whatever, because you are anxious to get out and compare and see how we did and stuff. But that comparison's still going to be there, so you could take your time and focus on the hand and just take it one hand at a time. And that's not just for you. That's for anybody who's trying to improve, is play a hand and then go on to the next hand and play a hand and go on to the next hand. And it doesn't matter whether it's the first board of the match or the last board of the match. People are much more susceptible to it on the last board of the match because they're so anxious to see whether they won or lost. But, you actually might control whether you win or lose on that last board, and nothing's going to change by playing fast. All it can do is hurt you, basically. So just get in there and dig in and play hard, and move on, move on from like a bad board. Bob Hammond was always the greatest at that. It's just like, boom, next hand.
Yeah, I just love the idea of having someone that I'm accountable to in bridge. Like, because this is a sponsor, you get to just be like, I'm sure it's not this way for you, but you're above reproach in some sense. You're like, I'm paying for the team. How can you criticize? How can you criticize me? Like, how does that work with Nick? Like when Nick's on your team, because you're.
I mean, Nick and Ralph or anybody on our team, we don't really talk about each other's mistakes or problems unless we're asked. But he's very reflective and he's hard on himself, and Nick Nickel is a great bridge player in his own right, but in bridge today, that sponsor slot has become so crucial in how well a team does, because the pairs at the top are very, very close. And, to have a Nick Nickel or Marty Fleischer as your sponsor is a really big advantage, because that pair performing well really can be the difference between winning and losing in a lot of matches, in a lot of close matches that are on paper very close. And playing with Nick is tremendous. When we played with Marty right before Nick, and Marty is great also. So, but I don't really think about how or what Nick is doing. I feel like he's got that under control himself.
But you must have like a certain level of like, he needs to play. I mean, it sounds like it's not really a concern, because you're saying he's a great bridge player in his own right.
He is a great bridge player in his own right. Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to talk about Dick Freeman, but I never understood if Dick Freeman was was he hired as Nick's partner, or was he a pro? I
don't really know I know they were very good friends, and but I don't know their business. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Their business was not my business.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to change the subject here. Master interviewer Bob Costas of Bridge. I think we've started telling this story to me, but obviously not to our listeners. You met your wife in 1986 at the Portland Nationals.
Yeah.
Can you tell us? You've been together for
since 1986. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was actually friends with a bridge player, and she was in the lobby of the hotel, and I was like, wow, look at that hot blonde, I was like, and so I went over and I started talking to him, and I told some story. I remember it was about Fred Stewart, who became my stepfather and married my mother a long time ago, but they lived together. And I was saying how something like, we wouldn't let him live in sin anymore unless he married her. And at the time, Liz was like, oh, he's so innocent. He's like, oh, he's this and that. And then like we went out on some date, and it's like, then we had a great time. And I guess I was in my senior year of college when we met. And then she came to visit me. And I remember I wrote my senior seminar in economics, and Liz was younger than me. I was 22, she was 19, I guess. And she edited my senior seminar. I was like, whoa, this is pretty amazing. And, we lived upstate New York for a while. And then we moved, like I said, in with Larry Cohn when I started trading options. And we've been together ever since. We got married, I think it was in 93. I hope I got that right. And, we're, Liz is great. And, she's just really brilliant and empathetic, and, my best friend, and somebody that I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity to meet in my life and to be with.
Was she playing bridge at the tournament?
No, she doesn't play bridge. She actually never played bridge. She was friends with somebody that was there. The one time she played bridge was with my mom in like a local unit thing where it was a team game where Fred and I were her teammates. And, we told her about, you need 13 points to open, but she thought she needed 13 points in one suit to open. So she never opened the bidding. And like a couple people called the director saying like they're cheating. They don't, she's not opening the, it's like, and she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have 13 points in one suit,
Oh, you said 13 points in one. Never mind.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, she never, she understands bridge. She knows the people. She actually wrote a book with Larry on bridge because she writes, and, but she knows the personalities very well, but she never got interested in the game. But she does understand. Like she has like she understands me and bridge and certain things. Like there was a few years ago, we lost like the trials and the quarterfinals, and we had a house in upstate New York, and we had a place in New Jersey also. And it's great to have a summer home in New Jersey. That's or a winter home in New Jersey. Makes a lot of sense. Besides the fallacy of logic there, I remember coming home from the trials after losing, and I like scotch, and Liz had gone out and bought a great bottle of scotch and put it on the table in the dining room and left a note and said, I know you're miserable. I know you're going to like continue your misery, watching the semifinals and the finals because that's just who you are. Here's a bottle of scotch. I'll see you on Monday. And she had gone upstate with this great, leaving me this, knowing what I was going to do, knowing that I was going to be in a pissy mood and horrible to be around and stuff like that. And it was like just such an understanding of exactly what I needed at that time.
Yeah, I enjoyed Liz particularly when I first met her in Orlando. I just thought she was like she just got me, and I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah,
very lucky.
Paul Soloway.
Paul Soloway was one of the all-time greatest bridge players. He was such a hero, such a original, great ethics, great player, great tempo, great partner, great opponent. Huge winner, greatest talents ever. He's the reason I actually started playing in regionals is at some point a number of years ago, and it was for a Bob or Joyce Hampton team. I play on Joyce's team, who I've become very close with now in some regionals, like 4 or 5 regionals a year. But Soloway called me up and said, would you like to play a regional with me? And I hadn't played a regional in like 10 years or something like that, because I was working. And I was like, wow. let me call you back. And I'm like, Liz, Paul Solowit just asked me to play a regional. And she's like, well, you got to play. And I'm like, well, yeah, I got to play. I mean, I'm just like, I'm so excited. This is amazing. And it was like, I went and I played with Paul on this regional team. And it was, then I started playing with him. He was my semi-regular regional partner on either Joyce or Bob Hampton teams. Well, it's Joyce Hill now, but, just the way he composed himself and his demeanor and his unflappability and his personality. And he's just so terrific. I remember one time we were playing and we were playing against a pair that, let's just say Paul and I were both pretty sure we're not on the up and up. And Paul one time pulled out 2 pass cards by mistake. And I said, that's how we do our minimums and compared to our maximums. How do you guys do it? And Paul just looked at me. First, I thought he was going to kill me, and then he just started laughing. Like he couldn't decide whether he was going to kill me or hug me.
How did the other pair respond?
I sometimes you hear things and you're just sort of I don't know if I get it, or I'm in shock, or somebody says something that you don't know how to respond to, and it's just there's silence, but it's one of those things that they probably came back to later that night and said, oh shit, that's what he said. I don't think that it was clear what I was saying at the time to them.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I know in my experiences when people have said something to me that have caught me off guard, where I'm you tilt your head a little bit like a dog, and then move, and then later you'll be like, oh shit, that's what was said.
Yeah.
Damn, dog.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was.
So was this after you had left Bear?
This was. It must have been, because there's no way I would take a week off during the Bear Wagner time. I don't remember. It must have been after I'd left. Yeah, I don't remember the dates of it, but also I just remember playing with him. And I wish I remembered the hand. I'm terrible at remembering bridge hands, loose hands, but you can remember every bridge hand he played. But I usually remember the disasters, and that's about it. But we were defending some contract, and it seemed like he led this thing, and it seemed like we was going to catch this, and we're going to catch this, and we're going to catch this, and then hope to get that. And then at trick 2, he just instantly plays a club. And I'm sitting there for 5 minutes, why would he play a club? This doesn't add up to me. And then eventually I worked it out, which I'm pleased with myself for working it out. But after 5 minutes, I worked out that he was breaking this up and this end play squeeze thingamajiggy, whatever.
Wow.
And he just did it instantly. And it was you only play to beat the hand. And I was in awe. I was like, that is pretty scary.
Wow.
He was such a great natural player. And he was so ethical, and he was just so beyond reproach to me. And such a great personality that I miss him to this day. I never took his phone number out of my cell phone.
When did he die?
I don't remember the year.
So when you were working at Bear Stearns, were you playing professionally for nationals or world championships?
It wasn't Bear Stearns. It was Bear Wagner, which was a division.
Sorry.
It's okay. It was a division of Bear Stearns, and I played very little bridge. My boss was amazing, an amazing character. His name was John Mulhern, and he was manic depressive, and he was huge. He was 6 something, big guy, just scary, imposing figure. And he, felt like I sort of had to choose bridge or Wall Street, but he knew I was still playing bridge, and I was playing professionally at the time, but I would just go to nationals. And, I remember one time I wanted to go play the Cavendish, and I asked him if I could have Friday. At the time, the Cavendish was in Vegas, and they'd have a team game and then the pair game over the weekend, and the auction would be Friday night. And I said, can I have Friday off? Or the auction would be Thursday night, and the event would start on Friday. And he said, yeah, you can have Friday off. So I don't tell him why. And I go and I play, and I come back on the all-night flight, which is, kind of dreadful to do that and get into New York City in time to go to work. So I show up, and my desk at that time was right next to his. And it turned out Ace Greenberg then calls him at like 10 in the morning or something like that. And he gets off the phone with Ace Greenberg, who was, before Jimmy Kane, chairman of Bear Stearns. And, John goes, Steve, when you asked me for that Friday off, did you go play bridge? I'm like, yes. And he said, well, at least you goddamn won the tournament. But he was not really a fan of my bridge. He wanted me to focus on my job there.
What were you trading when you were there?
I was head of derivatives equity. Well, basically our derivative department. So I was not really, I would just manage our positions and go if something was big happening, step in and trade. And, at the time we had control of about 20% of the equity derivatives, I think, that traded on the Amex in Chicago. And, we were involved in a lot of things, arbitrages and stuff like that. So I just ran that division. And, one of John's great claims to fame was Bear Wagner had never had a losing day, but, Bear Wagner also was a specialist on the New York Stock Exchange, which is like a printing press for money. So you just always started out plus X, whatever amount of money. And it was like years of never having a losing day. So I remember I had to show up one day at work and say, hey, John, like 7:30 in the morning. And John, that streak you're so proud of? He's like, oh, what streak? I'm like, the losing. He goes, we've never had a losing day. I'm like, well, that streak's over. He goes, what the? And he starts grabbing all these pills and starts, just like, and I'm like, my division, I don't care how much you made on the New York Stock Exchange. There is no way that we did not lose money yesterday. And he's just like, and everybody's looking and like, they're like, this kid is finally he's getting fired. He's done. He's history. And John was like, well, the streak had to end eventually. We'll start a new one today. But I was so scared going in to tell him, because I'm like, if we never lose, it didn't seem right to me that we were deploying our capital properly if we actually never lost money. Like, to me, there's like the risk reward and expected value and all these things. And I'm like, how can we have to step it up. It's like, this is like not right that we're not putting up more risks that we never lose money. And, it was a constant battle, but, I got along great with him. And he died actually soon after I left Bear Wagner. And, he was a legend in the industry. He was an unbelievable personality, very generous, very charitable. At his funeral, Bruce Springsteen sung, Bon Jovi sung. He was just absolutely a legendary character.
Wow. Well, what were you got? You were working on September 11th, weren't you?
I was. Yeah, that actually was what caused me to quit. But the reason I ended up there at Bear Wagner was because it was division of Bear Stearns, and Jimmy Kane, it was somebody who's been like an absolute father to me in my life. Was, he set me up for an interview, and he's been so great. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about Jimmy Kane. And I went in and, got hired, or they were going to hire me because Jimmy Kane said to hire me. So of course they were going to hire me. But I worked the first 3 months without getting paid just because I didn't know if I wanted the job. I didn't know if I was going to be any good at the job and stuff like that. And then eventually I agreed that I wanted to do it, and they agreed that they wanted me. And, but on September 11th, I was working, and it was very, very challenging. And I had a lot to do because before the opening, because I was head of derivatives. So I, did some stuff and then got on, the boat to go to New Jersey, because I lived in New Jersey, and watched the World Trade Center crumble. And it was certainly affected a kid from upstate New York.
Wow. So did he ask you? He said, hey, Steve, would you like to work at Bear?
I mean, we just talked all the time. I played on his team for a while. We've always been friends. And, like, I had traded on the floor for a lot of years as an independent trader with other people and stuff like that. And the floor was I got kind of sick of it. It was dying a little bit. And, he just said, well, why don't you try out this? And, these people are good people. I know them well. And just see if you like it. And, I was like, well, all right, I'll try it out. I'll check it out. And like I said, I didn't agree to taking the job right away because I thought there was a chance that I didn't want to do it. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just felt like I wanted to do something different. And, I did the job for a couple of years, and then I decided that it was best for me to move on.
And what was it about September 11th that was the end of it for you?
I think it was like an awakening of just like what felt to me like sort of the rat race compared to like doing things what you want to do at your own pace instead of being on a forced schedule, and New York City compared to, I grew up in a very small town with like a lot of trees and very few people. And, here was this like big company, corporate this, that, even though it was like some bunch of cowboys, which was kind of cool. It didn't seem like where I wanted to be spending the rest of my life. I didn't want to run a Wall Street company or have that be my goal or it wasn't about money, it was, and it's not that I'm rich or anything. I just never made my decisions based on what was the best financially. It was always on what I want to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do, which is what ended up how poker came about, because I was goofing around with it and stuff like that. But I just didn't feel like that's the way I wanted to spend the rest of my life. And so I just walked away from it. I mean, it took a while. It was hard to walk away from it, but I did eventually walk away from it.
Did you have moments where after you left that you wanted to go, that you, like you said, you're teaching Liz trading or something?
Now Liz and I are working together on trading and stuff, which is great. It's really a lot of fun because she's, a great student, and it's fun to start over. I was trading, in those days it was much more derivatives and stuff, but now we're trading stocks and trying to pick up patterns, and I wouldn't say we're day traders. Like we're more, do some research, see some patterns, try to do some things and stuff like that. And it's fun going back and trying to look, because I was never a math guy. I just have a bachelor's degree. I don't think I took more than algebra. Maybe I took one statistics class. So I ended up head of derivatives without, and interviewing these kids from Wharton and all these people, and like, wow. Nah, I don't like them. Nah, yeah, okay. Oh, this kid's really street smart. I like him. Let's bring him in. And so like I've always been like a pattern guy, and working with Liz and working on the patterns, and she's good at that too. It's been enjoyable, and she and I have been doing a lot of that, and trying to like beat the S&P. It's like it's fun. It's like, all right, we got to beat the S&P by 10 points. That's our goal, like year over year. I want to see if we can beat the S&P by 10 points. And then, so we're making a game out of it, and it's something we get to do together. And, I used to, certainly back in my poker days, was a very, when I worked on Wall Street, I had to get up at normal hours. And then when I worked at Bear Wigner, I had to get up very early. And then when I was playing poker, I'd get up very late. And now I'm back to waking, being somewhat normal, where, I get up at like 7:30 or 8 in the morning usually, and, we have our coffee and go over our strategies and stuff like that. And it's really nice to do it together. And I wouldn't say I miss what I did, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah. Did you become a better bridge player when you left Bear?
I became a better bridge player, I think, as I became a better poker player. I think that becoming a good poker player really helped me in spots and bridge. Just like, the games are so different, yet the skills that you pick up in both of them can help you, and they translate. And I wish I could package it and say, hey, this is how it translates. But I think that poker definitely made me a better bridge player. So yes, after I left Bear, but I wouldn't say that, the cause and effect was perhaps differently.
Like it wasn't like you had more time so that you could focus on bridge, but you sort of backdoored into that because you had this time you could focus on poker, which then
I'd actually say like I sort of had less time because I was so consumed by poker that I'd be willing to play like 30 out of 35 hours of poker, and I mostly played online, and I was an online cash game player, and I became so consumed with poker at the time that I would have very little interest in bridge at that moment until I was able to balance it. Like it was just such an all-in consumption, me and poker at one point and then once I got to a certain point, or once I realized I couldn't do it this way, the balance became much better. But, it's hard to balance in the beginning when you're falling in love with the game. It takes a while to adjust. So I wouldn't say initially playing poker was good for my bridge game. I would say eventually playing poker was good for my bridge game.
And how did you and Bobby start playing together?
Just at some point it was time for, his partnership and my partnership maybe got a little bit of staleness to it. He played with Peter Wessel and I played with Fred Stewart, and, he had tremendous success, and Fred and I had a lot of success. And, at just some point we both decided that we're going to try it out. And, we did. And, it wasn't like we had immediate success or anything. We had some success, but, it took a little bit of gelling and stuff like that. And, we worked really hard. I came from a precision background and he came from a standard background. And I remember him saying to me, do you want to play precision or standard? And he's like, if we want to play precision, you have to teach me precision. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. It's like, that's not going to work out too well. I'll just learn standard, but it took a while because I didn't really know how to bid because I was young and we didn't really have a lot of system structure, and precision is very different, especially unless you put in a lot of work on it. And standard, you really have to learn so much more about bidding. Like in a casual partnership, I would say precision is absolutely better, but in a serious partnership, in my opinion, I think it's better to play standard, whatever that is, standard with gadgets or maybe relay or whatever it is. But certainly casually, I would go with precision, and I'm very happy with what Bobby and I play now. But I still I'm going to play precision in the summer because Larry Cohen and I made a date, assuming he gets into the Hall of Fame, which if he doesn't, then the Hall of Fame is absolutely crazy. But we had agreed that we were going to play together the next time when he got into the Hall of Fame. So that's going to be Montreal. And he and I have our 6 pages of precision notes that we're going to play. So that'll be bringing out my precision game again.
Yeah, I read in one of in the research. I'm going to brag on my research again. That when you and Bobby started playing, you went and saw Marty Bergen and spent some time with.
We did.
Marty
We spent a few days with him, and he gave us some good ideas that to this day we still use. And he definitely he was helpful to us, and it was sort of just getting us on the same page a little bit. We were not exactly on the same page in some areas, and it turned out I think right after we saw Marty Bergen, and I think there's a lot of variance in a lot of things, especially Cavendishes and bridge and stuff like that. But I think we just popped off 2 or 3 of the next tournaments we played right after. And I'm sure Marty helped, but I think there's negative variance and there's positive variance.
What was that like? The 3 of you getting together, what was who was in charge? What was the?
This was 20 something years ago. It's
Marty, okay, here's what you got to do, or.
Marty, Marty had a lot of practical ideas that were good. He was big into the law of total trumps, and which Larry wrote about, and he was big into how to get to 3-0, we call them thrump doubles and things like that. And he helped us with some practical approaches to the game. And we didn't agree with everything he said, and he certainly didn't agree with everything that we said. But working with him was helpful. We worked with Kit Woolsey. Kit has written up many of our matches, and it's funny because he'll write them up in a Google document, and he'll do a great job. But if you read what Kit wrote, there's no worse pair in bridge than me and Bobby. We're absolutely the single worst pair that's ever played the game of bridge. So we'll have this Discord, we'll have he'll talk about this bid and how we should have opened 3 diamonds on 5 to the 9, of course. And, Bobby, he'll just be cowboy, we call him cowboy, blah, blah, blah. And I think Kit loves it and stuff, and we love it. But there's a lot of good things that he sees that we could take out the things that we don't agree with and incorporate the things that we do agree with. And I would say like Marty was a very small part of our bridge partnership where Kit or Michael Rosenberg, these people were, or Soloway, or now like I'll email like Chip. It's important to have somebody that when you disagree on a hand, you can both go, all right, well, we respect, so like Soloway was our guy. Now it's like I'll email often, like Chip Martell is somebody that I'll email if I have a problem, and I'll feel good about it, and somebody that plays standard or semi-standard and really understands theory and stuff. And Kit doesn't think the same way Bobby and I does about a lot of situations, but he has a tremendous amount to add, and just reading the way he thinks about things and incorporating some of it is great, and then discarding the parts that we totally disagree with, but it was very very enjoyable when he would write up our hands. It was a great thing.
Yeah, Kid has a way of he has a way of condemning, like saying things in a way that it's just cuts right to the.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of gray, and Kid's got some serious black and some serious white. Well, yeah, I think that this is an okay bid. This is right. No, that's not the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has and actually his opening leads opinion, he has some strong opinion about opening leads and stuff, which were kind of cutting edge, I would say. And just listening to what he had to say, it doesn't mean we lead like him, but sometimes if I don't know what to lead, I'll sit there, and I've done this throughout my bridge career. Be like, if I didn't know what to bid on some hand, I might think, what would Marty Bergen bid? Or now if I don't know what to lead, sometimes I'll be like, well, what would Kit lead? And it won't be that I'm going to make that lead, but at least it's going to enter into my consciousness, and I'm going to try to simulate some hands in my head, so I've tried, when I've had problems that I haven't been able to solve that much, think who would be the best at solving this problem, and try to think like that person.
Yeah, I'm going back to the Soloway situation where he switched to a club at trick 2, and I'm like, I just need to play with, I play with people where I'm like, what the it's like the person's, I'm like, I'm angry about it or something. I don't anyway.
Believe me, that was my natural thing at the time. I'm like, why is he playing a club? Let's just cash our thingies and do blah. And then I'm like, Paul Soloway shifted to a club, man. I'm like, I have to think about this. It's sort of like Michael Rosenberg gives you a bridge problem. You can't just answer it. You have to really think about it.
So you're not playing Williamsburg next week, unfortunately, from the sound of it.
No, I'm not. I'm playing Hilton Head is the next regional I play. And then I'm pretty sure that's the only one. I hope I'm not wrong about this. I have to check my schedule. I think it's the only one I'm playing before the Nationals.
Who are you playing the Platinums with?
I'm playing with Bobby.
Oh.
We are trying to play most pair events now because it's just easier for us on the notes and not trying to play a system with this person and that person. We went for a long period of not playing in pair events, and now we're playing a lot more pair events together.
Wow.
So it's just it helps us get ready for the team game, and the team games are absolutely the most important to us. We feel like that's the most important events to win in bridge. Is the toughest competition, and it's the most satisfying.
For sure. Can you give me an example of how your system is more oriented towards IMS versus match points?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we don't play at most auctions. You can't get out in Tino Trump, or we like serious 3-0, for example, instead of non-serious 3-0. But the problem with serious 3-0 is on some touch and go game hands, maybe you're Q bidding and you're getting them off to the right opening lead, and that's kind of bad for match points. Where we have a couple exceptions where we switch in match points in particular, but mostly we just think in match points that if we play at a high level, and we're going to win our share. We're going to if we play really well, then I think that you're dealt more than half the events you play in. Maybe not 2-day pair game, but a 3-day pair game. I think that if you and your partner play very well, you're supposed to win more than half. And it's hard to play very well, or Cavendish or something like that. I mean, I think I could have won if my partnership played to its maximum ability, like 75% of the Cavendishes I played. I think I was dealt 75% of them. So really, it comes down to getting the max out of, and nobody does. It's such a hard game, and that's why it's so beautiful and so difficult, and why it keeps so many brilliant people interested. And because it's a game of mistakes. But you don't often have to do that fancy thing to win. What you really have to do is just make fewer mistakes than anybody else.
Yeah.
So we don't really think in terms, we've structured our whole system for imps and not worrying about playing 5 of a minor or this versus 3-0 and stuff like that. And we don't, it's not like we're unaware when we play match points of certain things, but, our whole system mentality is, well, I could hear Bobby saying to me in my head, well, do you think you're going to go down in 5 of a minor? It's like, it's like, well, no, not really. So that's a good point. I didn't have to bid 3-0 Trump. It's like, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And that's the way we think about bridge is, trying to bid a hand well. And that being said, you wish when the final contract was settled that you opened the bidding at 6 diamonds or 3-0 Trump and told the opponents nothing, because that certainly helps them defend the hand really well.
Mm. Why do you prefer serious 3-0?
There's a few reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is that sometimes on like a really close slam hand, like the one really important card is the card that fits your partner's hand, but you have a bad, you have a minimum, but you just have this king of clubs that is just golden for your partner. And if you play non-serious 3-0, the problem is if you bid 3-0 non-serious and now your partner Q bids, you now have to reasonably assume they're Q bidding opposite what they know is your minimum. And it's very difficult for them they can't find out about that card, because if you don't have that card, you're going to think, wow, I have a good minimum. You're going to like do this or Blackwood or something like that. So I think getting in that key card with the bad hand is really important. Not bad hand, but minimum hand.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest reason, the most important thing.
True.
Yeah.
Is there anything that have you listened to any of the other episodes of The Setting Trick?
I listened to Gavin, and I listened to Mextroth, and I'm not sure if I've listened to others or not. I'm planning on it. I'm planning on listening to some of them. I just haven't gotten to all of them.
Is there any advice you have for me, like as a host here?
I think you're doing a tremendous job, and I think that you do things that are great for bridge, which certainly appreciated. And you're always promoting, and your movie and your podcasts and your generosity, and it seems to me like you're working on your craft. And I don't know. I listen to Bill Simmons. I think he's pretty good, but I don't know from being somebody who hosts podcasts, but it seems to me like you're doing a pretty good job. And
thank you.
I'm not qualified to criticize you.
Do you have anything that you would like to share with our listeners, with your fans across the world?
I would just like to say that I'm really impressed with the younger generation of bridge, and I think and when I think of the younger generation of bridge, I think it starts with like the group of like the Joe Grews and the John Hurds, the Kraniaks and the Gavins, and that group. And then from there, we move on to another generation where like the Kevin Rosenbergs and the Adam Kaplans and stuff. And now we've got another generation of the Michael 2 and Michael 1 and, these kids, and Sarah Youngquist and these kids. And it just like seems with every generation, like their ethics are even better, and their table presence and their table feel and their improvement. And I don't know whether bridge is going to live or die in the United States. I hope it lives, but it's certainly with the young people that we've had recently, and then more recently, and then even more recently, I think that we're really in good hands, and it's very impressive. And I applaud the people that have been their mentors and the kids themselves. And, it takes both, and the benefactors have been crucial, and there's been some very generous people, which I'm sure that you have been one of them, and I think it's great. And it really gives me a warm feeling to see young people playing and enjoying themselves, whether they decide to be great at bridge or just take it up as a hobby, and enjoying themselves, or playing hard, but playing ethically and playing the game the right way. And it's really heartening to me, and I respect it, and I congratulate them.
Well, and thank you for your compliments about me. I'm going to start, even if you're not my coach per se, I'm going to start thinking of myself as being accountable to you in my bridge. So, so I'm going to be like, man, I have to tell Steve about this. If I screw this up, if I screw this up,
replying on email, so just don't hold that against me.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I've got the Steve, I've got one half of Levstein. Hey, what's up, Liz?
She can't hear you, but she says hi.
Oh, I was saying, anyway, I saw in your thing that people have called you Levstein. It's half Steve Lev. I mean, half.
Oh,
Lev.
Yeah. I don't go for that. That means that doesn't feel. It feels like a monster or something like that. I'm not happy about that.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. So when they were coming up with some acronyms, I was like, nah. But you don't get to nickname yourself or nickname your partnership. So
I can't believe Levstein hasn't caught on. I'm gonna push for that.
You're gonna have to make a lot of effort. I'd say you probably can use your energies in better places.
So, Steve, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you. It was really enjoyable, John, and good luck, and keep up the great job, and yay.
Thank you, Liz.
Shout out from Liz.
John McAllister is doing a great job.
Liz says John McAllister is doing a great job.
I heard it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So I'll be in touch when we've edited the episode, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks a lot, John. It was really enjoyable. Talk to you later.
Right. Likewise. Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Thanks to Steve for appearing, for being generous with his time, for being patient with me, for taking more than a week to publish this episode. If you like the show, please share it. Consider sharing it with a friend, bridge player, non-bridge player. It's fun hearing from friends when they say they listen to this show. So please reach out to me if you like the episodes, if you have some feedback, if you have a suggested guest, let us know. And if you want to see Double Dummy, doubledummymovie.com. It's available for download or streaming. I'm working with some different organizations about doing a screening in Richmond, Virginia. And if you want us to come to your city, hit me up, John at doubledummymovie.com.